Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Time, and we both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we have got some controversial stuff to cover today. This CCP clear cooperation debate is going bananas. We've also got some questions about how tariffs and the economy are actually going to affect the real estate market. So if you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel. You can hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team and Sarah specifically, you can do that with the link in the comments. She has many, many happy clients that have been listeners to the show. So you definitely want to get in touch with her to talk about all this stuff that could be affecting the real estate market right now. So there's a lot of tariff talk lately. Are people worried about this? Like, tell us what you're hearing in the field, because I mean, this is new territory for a lot of real estate agents and a lot of homeowners.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has come up, both for people who would want to be doing renovations or work on whatever place they're getting, and just for like general cost of living. Not specifically related to projects for the home, but just factoring in for, and I think just not knowing where it's all going to go, trying to be conservative.
Well, I think you hit a very good point there, that a lot of people don't know what's going to happen. So there's a question of like, what is this actually going to mean? So the first piece of data I want to share is this could affect new construction. I think that's very clear because they have a lot of materials involved. The U.S. Recently hiked Canadian lumber duties to 34.45%. And to give some perspective, it used to be 14.4%. And this is specifically going to impact Canadian softwood lumber, which is 30% of that type of lumber is used in U.S. home construction is imported. So this is the lumber that's most commonly used. 30% is imported, and Canada accounts for 80% of all the imports. So it's, a significant amount here. We're looking at, I guess, about a quarter or something like that of all the lumber. And the National Association of Home Builders, they estimated that could raise the price of a new home by $9,200 just because of the tariffs.
Yep.
So talk about how that might affect the buyer's psyche, or what home buyers should be thinking about, or maybe what home builders should be thinking about, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that money is going to have to come from somewhere, right? And that's just the lumber. There's other, and like that's all that was touched on in the increase there, the 9,000 something for the average cost for the lumber. Then there's also all the other materials that go into building. So your cost for new construction could easily, quadruple that, I would think, or double it, or so when you're factoring in now, I think with a lot of the new construction, they tend to be at a luxury level where people may have that like where they can kind of pool it together, right? But if they've been looking for a little bit, or they've been like shopping home prices, and then they see this get tacked on, I think it could also just irk people the wrong way, knowing that that is an additional charge strictly because of tariffs. Also, it could cause them, because for some of these, for Trump's tariff policies, I mean, I think he pulled back on some of them, but then there isn't a clear plan as to like what he's doing it, why he's doing it, when he's doing it, right? So then it could create a level of, well, maybe I should wait because maybe it will be different. Like if things get pulled back, like maybe, and then it's going to take a little bit to like trickle both up and down for how this plays out. But then who knows what other things could be going into play at that point.
Well, yeah, you hit on a couple good points. Like you got to look at appliances getting imported, right? Like think about just Samsung appliances. I don't think they're actually very good appliances. A lot of people buy them. That's something that could be affected. The lumber specifically is going to be an issue. Now, new construction is already pricey as it is. And I think the perspective here, I did research on what the average new construction sale price was last year. So in Philadelphia, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery, and Bucks counties, it ranged anywhere from like the 7.25 range. The highest was Delaware County at $1,037,000.
Yep.
was the price point, and most of these were in the 7s or 8s. So you're really looking at like a little over 1%. But new construction is already pricey anyway, and if people, they get annoyed about the options game that builders play. So I think that could be a problem, like you talked about. Now, some builders do offer incentives if you use their mortgage company or their title company. So maybe they're going to use that to offset it, but it's still going to cost more no matter what happens. So, and I imagine this is going to affect other parts of the country more so than the Northeast, just because of the new construction or lack of new construction that's there. So I think
it'll also matter when that is factored in, right? Like if they tack that on to the base price, it may be less irritating, right? Versus like if it gets added, not really as like an upgrade, but like if you see it as an extra line item, that may be worse than if you just raise the base price of the home by 10K.
Yeah, I totally agree. And affordability is already a problem anyway, right? Like this isn't something that a lot of people are excited about. So, it could also lead to slower construction. Again, higher building costs. So when you look at these things, I mean, and like the British Columbia Premier, David Eby, he came out and said that these tariffs, they're an attack on forest workers and British Columbians. He slammed it as unjustified. I mean, you brought up a good point. A lot of this is like a negotiation between Canada and the U.S. and trying to, we don't know what the long-term impact is going to be or how long these things even stay.
But I mean, I did see something the other day that the Prime Minister came out and said, like, this is like damage has been done.
Oh, yeah, I think there already is. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about big jumps.
Even if you pull back, like a trust factor has been lost, a lumping, even if it was a negotiation strategy to try to get other countries to like come to terms on what he's trying to do, you threw them under the bus, even if it was only meant to be brief, which we don't know, but and damage has been done.
Well, there's been more damage, right? Because then the stock market reacted to all this, and this is what always happens. And so, if you look at companies like D.R. Horton, Pulte, NVR, they all fell roughly 5%. That reversed all the gains from that they had seen just the previous week. And when these there's all sorts of them dropped here. I mean, you saw Toll Brothers, KB Homes, Lennar, and the second term for President Trump hasn't been kind to home builders. And there's a whole chart here that they look at the total losses. And then the total losses since Liberation Day, I guess that's what they're calling the day when all these tariffs got. Who came up with that? Do you know? I don't pay attention enough.
Definitely somebody.
I think it was the president actually.
Yeah,
but
sure.
So anyway, that's not really the point. So you're seeing these home builders now they're getting beat up a little bit, and then they paused all the tariffs, right? So this all happened last week. They paused the tariffs, except on China, and that he slapped the president put a conservative 10% tariff on China at the beginning. He since raised it to 145%, and that's been probably the most brutal for home builders, according to NAHB, the National Association of Home Builders. China accounts for 27% of all the U.S. construction material imports, highest share out of any country. And the tariffs could add, now with those higher tariffs, it goes from $9,200 to $12,800 on the cost of a new home. So, I mean, now all of a sudden it's like 2% instead of like more than 1%. So, and there's a 25% tariff on all steel and aluminum imports that's in place. And so, I mean, this is not going well for builders right now. So how do you see this affecting home buyers and home sellers that maybe want to get into like a newer community? Like you see a lot of people that want to buy these new homes, whether it's like a 55 and over or a new condo or something like that, especially the people downsizing.
I think it depends on where they are in the process. I think it depends on how closely they've kind of been like line iteming these things. And as always, how motivated they are and what their reason is for the move. I think that if there is a new community being built that checks all of the boxes and that's what the plan has been, I think they're still going to move forward with it, but I think they're not going to be like particularly psyched about the the extra pieces. If you've got somebody that, new construction has been something they've been considering, but they're also looking at other, other homes, other options, this could be something that factors in. But I think it's also going to somewhat come down to how it's being line itemed out and when they're finding out about that additional pricing.
I agree. I'm also happy I was able to fix the camera.
Yeah,
by the way,
that
that was pretty good. Well, Nick was telling me what to do. So shout out to our man, Nick Wolf. He actually said FaceTime if you can't get it. So he's the man. Very helpful. So it was an extreme. You don't need to see my face as it is, let alone that close. It was not what people want to see. So yeah, I think you're going to see our market's so different because there's not a lot of new construction.
Right.
I would imagine even the new construction in Philadelphia, yeah, they have some lumber, but a lot of times they're like rehabbing existing buildings and doing things that are already there. This is really going to hurt people in the South, in the West, where there's a lot of new construction, in the Sun Belt, the Midwest, and new construction is already so pricey. And the problem with inventory right now is not lack of inventory; it's lack of affordable inventory. And if they're going to create inventory, we don't need it to be any more expensive than it is. So I don't know how this is going to end, and maybe this is part of the pain we have to go through to get the market to become more affordable. So there's some other things that are impacting housing right now. So, there's a question of, what's going on in the premium or the luxury market. And that momentum, it's been luxury real estate's been on a decade-long upward trajectory. And on April 2nd, when the new wave of tariffs were announced, people, the S&P and the Dow have been falling. A lot of people took hits on their investments. Mortgage rates are hovering around 7%. So, there's two things to consider for the luxury market. One is, do you think there's going to be a pullback in high net worth buyer activity? And is there going to be a divergence between seller expectations and market reality? What do you think, Sarah?
I think there will for the first part of it, no, I don't think that there's going to be a huge pullback. But I do think there will be a disconnect between some of the seller expectations. Because I feel like sellers are often the last to know, right?
Yes.
They're still wanting to be in a situation where it's multiple offers well above all the terms, which depending on the house, you could get that. That still happens. But for the luxury level segment, I think if that's something that you are going for, you're gonna still go for it.
Well, I do agree that I think people move because of a need, right? And even though those people, when they're in the premium market, they may not think there's usually a need. Now, like the $10 million property, which we have like 3 of around here, that's a little different. I look at anything in the luxury market above 7 figures. I think that's fair to say in the greater Philadelphia area. And our average sale price is right around $450. That's more than double the average. And Danielle Hale over at Realtor.com, the chief economist, she predicted this in her 2025 luxury market outlook. And she said, in an economic environment riddled with uncertainty, investors are seeking out safe havens. For many, people look at bonds, but real estate may be the alternative for some. So that's exactly what you're talking about. And while real estate can lose value, it's a tangible asset that not only provides shelter, it tends to have more stable pricing than stocks. So I do agree. You might see more people put their money into real estate and maybe, hey, instead of having this big stock portfolio, let's just get a bigger house that we know is going to go up in value. And there's always sellers that have unrealistic expectations. I don't think you can ever stop that from happening. And there's also some data around this. So despite all this stock market turbulence, the Luxury Home Index, which is created by Concierge Auctions, report that high-end home prices remain on an upward trajectory based on data for 2024. Sale prices for luxury properties are up 4.7% compared to 2023. So obviously that's last year. Because of the lack of inventory that's affordable and all these move up buyers, I don't see these numbers coming down. I think maybe like the peak properties, like those top, but there's only a few buyers for those anyway.
Right.
So I don't know that it's going to have the impact on luxury listings. It sounds like you're kind of in agreement here.
Yeah.
So here's some of the things to consider with these high-end or premium properties. Time on market. I think that's probably one that people aren't ready to understand. They think everything's going to sell in a weekend.
Right.
I mean, the average luxury home takes 319 days to sell. That's nationwide. Obviously, you could break it down between above $1 million and above $2 million, and the numbers are gonna jump.
Sure.
What do you think there's anything else high-end buyers or sellers need to be aware of?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously that like the days on market is a good one to hit on. Like there's a chance that it could go very quickly, but in general, like it's going to take a little bit to find the right buyer that's going to get it under contract. I guess maybe with the stock market being the way it is, people may be less likely to pool as much out from there to put down. So you may have less cash offers or less people may be financing a little bit more of it. Yeah, I guess those would be. What else do you have?
So, well, I think there's going to be, someone is going to make the move. They're going to make the move. I'm a big believer in that. And a lot of time, these high net worth buyers, they have like preferential lending arrangements with their bank who handles a lot of their portfolios. So they might be able to get better rates than other people. When you look at, some of the things here that Realtor.com is reporting, there's the tariffs, they rattled the financial markets, but there's like a comeback of wealthy Russian buyers to New York City, purchasing $10 to $20 million properties after a 10-year hiatus. High net worth individuals see U.S. real estate as a stable investment because of the quality of new construction and the American education system. So there's a lot of things to think about here. I'm looking at this from an agent perspective, and I think, one is setting realistic expectation for sellers. We have a listing where there's some people involved advising the seller, and one of them said that, and this is it's a very high price listing, and one of the advisors said, "Hey, this thing should sell right away." And I'm like, I don't know about that. Here's the data, and we had to have a conversation about it, and that affects things like length of contract. Right? People want these short contracts. I think everything's going to sell right away. That doesn't even happen in the lower price points. Right. So letting them know the data and educating people with data. Hey, here's the average or the median days on market for this price point in this town, township, city, whatever. And there's another piece of data here that says, and this is from the Luxury Home Index, if a home sells within 180 days, the average time on market's 89. So like that first 6 months is pretty critical. Then there's the homes that are on the market over 180 days. Days on market jumps to 514 days. Okay. Is that surprising to you?
Is this if they're leaving it exactly as is?
I don't have that info.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because I mean, if you're not doing adjustments to the listing, then no, that's not surprising to me.
Well, yeah.
Even if you're doing some different adjustments, depending on where your cutoffs are and what lines you're crossing, once something accumulates a good number of days on market, it does tend to take longer.
When people start asking questions, and what's the number one question you get?
What's wrong with it?
Every time, right?
Every time.
And usually there's not. So I think, for luxury home sellers, that 180-day mark, I'd be looking at, all right, how do I get the home sold? Not in 30 or 60 days, but like, how do I get this sold in 6 months? And that's a very normal time frame pre-pandemic. Not so much now because of, prices have jumped up so much. Like $1 million property is not what it used to be around here.
Right.
It's very different. So these are all things you want to keep in mind. And for agents, I mean, setting those realistic expectations, speed's going to matter. Understanding the stock market, that might cause some people to pull back. And I mean, as far as foreign buyers, I think that happens a lot more in like places like New York, and we don't get a lot of those folks around here in the greater Philadelphia area. So that's something to think about with these tariffs. Then there's two other points here we got. The risk of mortgage-backed securities. So how familiar are you with mortgage-backed securities here, Sarah?
Freddie Mac.
All right, there we go. All right, so there's mortgage rates, they've hovered around 7%, and they've climbed a little bit, and that's usually because of the sell-off in the U.S. Treasury bonds. And analysts are warning that the situation could worsen. So, meaning more of these bonds get sold if China escalates financial retaliation over the U.S. trade policy. So, really the increase in mortgage rates is typically tied to like the 10-year yield, which has surged as investors sell bonds. And there's speculation that foreign governments, specifically China, could be selling U.S. Treasury bonds in response to the tariff measures in place. And that the most significant risk is China's mortgage-backed securities. So, just to give some perspective, foreign governments hold 1.32 trillion of U.S. mortgage-backed securities as of January. That's 15% of the outstanding ones. China, Japan, Taiwan, and Canada are the largest holders. So, if they start selling these things off, that could cause mortgage rates to go up even more. And then China's already reduced its mortgage-based exposure. Their holdings are down 8.7% year over year as of the end of September, and 20% by early December of last year. So it looks like they have a different investing strategy. I mean, do you think they're going to sell off if this trade war continues? Do you think this is something that could happen here?
Yeah, as a retaliation, like an FU. Yeah.
An FU, yes, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, why not?
Well, and I think these are all the things I think people are really nervous about. Like, we hear about nerves. This is what to be nervous about, not anything else. I mean, so when you hear that concern from somebody, hey, I'm nervous about the economy, I'm nervous about what's going on with this new administration, I don't know if I'm going to purchase or make a real estate decision. How do you handle that? Because most people aren't going to understand all this stuff.
Well, short of something crazy happening, we're in for it for another 3.5+ years,
Yes.
right? So that's a long time. If you've got a need to move, we may be looking at a degree of uncertainty for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Isn't your daughter like 3.5 years old?
Yeah.
So, I mean, just imagine if you were like, hey, I'm not doing anything. Like, I mean,
right.
Things can,
it's
a long time.
Life still goes and things still happen. And certainly it's very understandable that there is, who knows what exactly is going to be cycling through here. But if things continue for the rest of his term as they have been thus far, I don't think we're in for being certain about how anything's going to go for a while. Yeah. So you've got a number of years ahead of you of wrenches could be thrown at any time.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just the reality of someone that's they have an agenda, right, wrong, or otherwise. This is what we're dealing with right now, and I hope it goes well. But there is going to be uncertainty, and I think the first thing you got to ask people is like, hey, what are you uncertain about, or what's making you nervous, and see what they say, because 3.5 years. I mean, I just like. That's a very long time to put your life on hold. And when you ask that question, it disarms people, and you get to really the root of the issue of what's causing them to be uncertain in the first place. So if you can figure that out and find out why they wanted to move in the beginning, like, that's the reason to make a move, because it's right for you. It's right. We had the same conversation with a client it was Friday, right? And we're in the office, and hey, it was an interesting dynamic, because it was there's always typically like a husband and wife decision maker or two decision makers on a property, and one of them said, hey, I'm not totally comfortable with these numbers, and the other said, well, the numbers are the numbers.
Yeah.
And I think the response was, do you want to live where you don't want to live anymore? And they were like, okay, let's move ahead. And right. That's did that get a little awkward? I mean, not for me, but I mean,
actually, I thought I was so glad that they handled it.
Yeah, but sometimes you just got to stop talking.
Right. Yeah.
That was not us involved. That was the two of them working it out right in front of us.
Right. And I mean, I think in our area here, like, over the next 3.5 years, prices will continue to go up. So if you wait until then, even if there are tariffs right now, even like the waiting will cost more than not.
I don't think there's any question about that. And I think, ultimately it's like, where do you want to live? What's going to be best for you? That's what you got to ask yourself when it comes to all this stuff. But there will be an impact. Don't take this lightly here. But when you know what the impact's going to be, you can make better decisions.
Right.
All right, let's take a quick break here, and we are going to come back, and we've got a long second segment here about Zillow and Compass and Andy Florence from Homes.com and Redfin and EXP and all sorts of stuff. This clear cooperation listing battle, it's gone nuclear. And we're going to explain what agents should be doing in the midst of all of this next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
Mortgage service and great rates on your money. Look no further than Mortgage America. We've been operating in the
Very proud of myself.
area for 40 years with a focus on smooth, easy access to
home
home purchase. Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost assistance programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000. We always have a person available to take your call with around-the-clock human service. Purchase your home with the personalized local service you find at Mortgage America. Mortgage America is equal housing lender, NMLS 128501.
I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30 plus sales. Even our brand new agents average 17 to 24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses. Now here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real estate scholarships so you can get one for free. Check it out at realestatescholarshipprogram.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group its main line at tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
When looking for a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice service to get a great rate. Visit the Sutera team at Cross Country Mortgage. We are your
Birthday
local
plans on Saturday,
Pennsylvania
Sarah?
lending experts. Loans that fit nearly any unique home buying situation.
We're going to do an Easter bunny
Including
brunch at my
first-time buyer
dad's
options,
country club.
Low to no down payment option. Very simple.
Maddie really liked
Get a
it
free
the other year,
pre-approval
so
now at ccm.com.
You probably get like
Search
a-
for us, the Suteras. That's SUTERA.
Easter bunny, just have a brunch here.
Cross Country Mortgage. When it's time to move, we're right.
It's a far ride. What's they getting together? Like an hour and change?
yeah. But then we're going to be up there because then Sunday we're going to stay up there because then Sunday we have like a Easter thing with like Eric's family, and then I think all the
Easter is like the worst.
grandparents are going to want to do like an egg hunt thing with her because like she's the only grandkid doing like any. There's like 3 sets.
She's gonna
of
make out like a
grandkids.
bandit though. That's good.
Yeah. So she's for now
Good
still
for
the
her.
only one.
All right. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Timon. And we both work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And there is a huge, this is like a battle royale or like a Royal Rumble. I don't know if you ever watched like the WWF or maybe Eric did. I'm not really sure.
We've recently watched like a couple of like documentaries on the WWF.
No, those are depressing
yeah,
because half the guys are dead. So it's
Right. But
brain
Eric grew up watching it. I not so much.
this is 30 people fighting in a ring. That's the idea. So that
Yeah.
probably makes sense for what we're talking about here. So if you get some value out of this, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. And if you want to schedule a call with our team about how to navigate this, and Sarah specifically, you can do that with the link in the comments. So what we're talking about here, this is like an ongoing thing. So on April 10th, that's last Thursday or Friday. Looks like it was last Thursday. Zillow announced new standards that will ban publicly marketed listings or privately marketed listings from appearing on Zillow and Trulia if they aren't submitted to the MLS within 24 hours. So what they're talking about are like these private exclusive pocket listings, and it aligns with NAR's clear cooperation. And I'm going to read you the statement, and then I want to be like very clear about how this is going to work, and then I want to get your reaction to this. This is a big deal. A listing, this is from Zillow. A listing marketed to any buyer should be marketed to every buyer. Zillow's new listing standards state that if a property is publicly marketed, it must also be submitted to the MLS and distributed to public portals like Zillow within 24 hours. Otherwise, it will get blacklisted from Zillow and Trulia for the life of the listing. Listings that rely on NAR's delayed marketing exemption A recent addition that allows properties to be promoted before appearing on the MLS could be most affected. NAR's newest policy allows sellers to advertise delayed marketing exempt listings on social media, other websites, and portals. Errol Samuelson, Zillow's chief industry development officer, said if it's promoted anywhere publicly, it won't ever be shown on the platforms if not submitted to the MLS within 24 hours, unless you fire the agent and hire somebody new.
Gotcha.
So there is a way for sellers to get it. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it would be fair that they can be on Zillow if they're not anywhere else.
Well, what they're saying is that, like, so, a company like Compass, they have these private exclusives. They're saying, hey, that can't be on there.
Yep.
And you can't market to just the Compass agents and then market to everybody else. And
Yep.
so it's, Errol Samuelson came out and said it's simple. Sellers want exposure and the buyers deserve access. When all buyers don't have the same access to home listings and are forced to navigate barriers, possible bias, and incomplete inventory, it undermines consumer trust and weakens the market. From day one, Zillow has focused on unlocking real estate information for all. Zillow is committed to empowering brokerages and agents who are dedicated to raising the bar for access. This is why we invest in software and tech tools for real estate professionals and why we stand up policies that move the industry forward, not back.
So prior to this, would it be, if it was a private exclusive listing, that people would still put it on Zillow?
It would go on when it would go on the MLS. So, I mean, there's listings you'll see pop up. I mean, we can pick on Compass here because they do this stuff. And it's like, it's being marketed. There's one I got an email about. Like, I know exactly where the home is. I'm actually working on.
And then what if it doesn't sell?
Then it goes to the MLS.
Then they go to the MLS and to Zillow. And
everywhere. Yeah, all the different portals and all that stuff.
And first, it's just like privately marketed
to anyone inside their agents. The office exclusive.
Yeah. And now Zillow's saying if you did that first, then
you're not on Zillow.
But how would they know if it was emailed privately amongst?
It's a great question.
The company.
So I guarantee you other agents will report this.
Yeah.
Right. Zillow also keeps an eye on things. I mean, we've said stuff on the show here, and our Zillow rep says, "Hey, I heard you talked about this on the show." Like, this happens all the time. So, I mean, nothing good or bad. I mean, we're partners with Zillow. That's very clear. So I'd imagine, but other agents are definitely going to report this. That's where most complaints come from against real estate agents, is from other agents.
But how would if it's just being marketed within, like, nobody from within their own organization would report on it because they would have gotten it.
I mean, you would think, but there's agents that don't like each other at the same companies. So, I mean, who the heck knows? Yeah. And it's what I find interesting, and I'm trying to pull this up here. I got an email about one of these the other day, and it's this beautiful listing. It helped me out because I'm talking to someone that owns a home there that we were talking about pricing and that sort of stuff. So here it is. I mean, this home is not on the MLS yet. Mm-hmm. It says, hey, private exclusive brokers open house. Well, it's been publicly marketed because I'm getting the email here.
Yeah,
that's great. And it's not in the MLS right now. And so, I mean, you see this stuff happen. This is one example.
Did Zillow's rule already go into effect?
Starts May 1st.
And then it also said this will very much affect the people that do the delayed. So that would be like when we put it on Zillow Friday and then MLS Monday.
Well, so that's changed. So now anytime it goes on Zillow, it goes everywhere. They don't have that delayed 1 day delay. It's all the same spot. And I mean, so, there's two schools of thought on this. And in fact, before I tell you my view on this, I'm going to play a clip from Sharon Travaza, the outgoing president at Real. He had a great analysis here. These clips have been working well, so we're going to keep playing them. Give me 1 second. I'll make sure I can not screw this up, Sarah. Very difficult to do here.
Yeah.
We already navigated the camera technical difficulties, so I think that's a good thing. All right, here we go. Oh, see, I already screwed it up. See, this is what happens. Let me try this again. I know, I muted it. I know exactly what happened. All right, here we go. One more time.
What I was waiting for. I have not said a word on clear cooperation up until now, but this is exactly what I was waiting for. Zillow to ban listings that are publicly marketed off the MLS, meaning if you choose to hold back your listing in the pre-marketing period that NAR just announced, then when it does come on the market, does come on the MLS, Zillow will not show it. Now, it does not matter what kind of stance you have on clear cooperation, whether you think it's right, whether you think it's wrong, whether you think it needs to be repealed or what have you. we are now in the battle of the business models. What did Compass do? Compass said, hey, we're going to create this private exclusive infrastructure. We're then going to use that as a recruiting vehicle to say, hey, we have access to inventory that you may not have access to. Use that as a recruiting vehicle and then use that to eke out some revenue. 100% understand that. But now Zillow says, hey, listen, we are the 800-pound gorilla in the space, and we are going to show the transparency of how the listings come to market is really important, right? And I will tell you, the folks at Zillow are not dumb. Errol Samuelson is a savage. And this is exactly what I was waiting for. And the thing that I'm bummed out about is that NAR did not take the stance. And they had to wait for Zillow to come and take the stance overall. So no matter where you stand on all of this, we are in the battle of the business models right now, and the 800-pound gorilla has spoken. And the cool part is that we need a way for agents to collaborate with agents and to be transparent with their consumers. And whoever can facilitate that, both in policy and in infrastructure, is going to win. So grab some popcorn and watch this unfold.
So what do you think about Sharon's take on this here?
I liked it.
He's a very smart guy.
Yeah.
He's absolutely right that, NAR should have done something, but they just played like middle of the road. They just sat on the fence like they normally do. Big surprise. I understand why Compass is doing what they're doing. I also understand why Zillow is doing what they're doing. That doesn't benefit Zillow, right? Like their business model is we want to get all the listings out there and get buyers engaged. Compass wants to basically, my view is they want to double end all their listings. Like that's kind of what.
I mean, I think they absolutely want to double end all of their listings, and that is what suits their interests best, because they can still bring their clients for like buyers to all of the properties that are non-exclusives, and then plus they have this extra little like pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can see how like if your agent is a Compass agent and then you were like, oh, I have access to these other properties, I can see that is exciting, except like, are they properties that are matching what all you need? And are you going to have to pay a surplus because it's still in this little like private portion? So like, would you rather, you may get knowledge of it before everyone else, but you may pay significantly more than, but then also there's less competition there. So I don't know. I would like it if everything was on, everywhere. And if you had something, I guess that was coming up. So I guess like where you could maybe have your loophole is if there's a property that comes up within the company that has not been marketed at all, could you word of mouth it within your?
It sounds like it's, but when they send out an email like I got, that's public marketing.
Well, and that went to,
I'm sure other people, yes.
Right, like that would have gone to, and I get those a lot too. But I don't know, like the only one that for sure benefits from it is the company that's doing the
brokerage. Yeah,
brokerage.
I agree with you.
They're absolutely the only ones that will benefit. And because then they also have the option, or did, of, hey, we're testing it this way. If we don't get the number that we're looking for, then we can push it to like everyone, and so they still had that as like a backup, right? Now, I guess it'll be, clearly that's gonna change.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what I find fascinating about this is that you're right. The companies benefit from this. Like that's great for like if you have your own buyer for a listing, like awesome, that's great for me. But we've got like a duty to consumers here, and I don't think people really take that as seriously as they like. And then you look at, all right, Zillow benefits from. Sharon said it perfectly. It's a battle of the business models. They benefit from all the listings being out there. You said something really smart there, that when a home's like off the market, all the pressure's on the buyer to make it worth the seller's while to take it, because there's data out there from Bright MLS. Over 90% of these private or office exclusives come to the market. So it's not like they're all selling behind the scenes. And statistically, off-market MLS properties sales specifically, those off MLS sales, they sell for 15.5% less than what they could have gotten on the market. So like if sellers would see that, I would never sign up for that as a seller unless I had like a privacy issue or something like that.
Yeah.
We don't really deal with a lot of people like that here. There's like 1 to 2% of the population that look for that privacy or they want a quick sale, but they can also sell to wholesalers and investors and that stuff too.
Right.
So, it's clear who benefits what here. We had EXP sign on, Redfin signed on, and then so Andy Florence came out at homes.com, and he sent an email out. This email was like very aggressive. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I saw it, and he basically, took a huge dump all over Zillow, and he said it's an act of audacity. It's a power play of epic proportion. He even included a link to the DOJ's antitrust division for agents who feels the policy goes too far. And he didn't mince words. So here's a quote. This isn't about protecting consumers. It's about protecting Zillow's ability to profit from your listings by selling your leads to competing agents. Florence argues that the policy threatens agent autonomy and seller choice by trying to dictate marketing strategies, writing that Zillow is asserting that they, not NAR, not your brokerage, not you, the listing agent, not even the homeowner whose house it is, and is paying compensation, should decide how a listing is marketed. I agree there. I think the seller should have a choice in this. That's the person who should have all the choices, in my view. And there's a whole dispute about lead generation models. Now, meanwhile, he's got this, these $1 billion whiff that he made with all these Super Bowl commercials with the Saturday Night Live actors and actresses. And I mean, it's this thing's going to blow up. What do you think about his comments here?
Yeah. I mean, I think if he's saying, oh, Zillow, you're just caring about your business model and making money, like, also, isn't that what you're doing by keeping these listings exclusive so that your company has at least initially the only shot is to have the deal go both ways within the company. And then it would open up outside of there. But that's what you're doing too. Yeah,
I totally agree. And I mean, now they have their whole homes.com. Their whole thing is you're listing your lead. I don't know anyone that's doing anything with homes.com where they're getting a lot of lead generation or getting any leads that are coming in. I mean, they came in and pitched us and wanted us to pay all this money.
Homes.com, they're saying if somebody searches for your listing, they're going to give
the lead goes to the listing agent.
The listing agent, what, for free?
No, you have to pay money. I mean, occasionally we'll get one or two. I mean, I've studied lead generation thoroughly. I mean, you know this. I mean, with this, and so, homes.com, I appreciate what he's saying here. I mean, he's on the other side of this, and this is something agents have to be careful about because, one, if I'm a listing agent, I'm interviewing against an agent from Compass, I'm sharing all this data with the seller. I'm telling him, hey, this could hurt you. Because you don't.
What other companies are big on the private exclusives?
That's the biggest one. The other one is Washington Fine Homes, which I believe Compass owns. So, I mean, if you look at these private exclusive numbers here, I mean, those are the biggest. I got some data on this here, but if you're a seller, I don't know how you can sit there and it's just factually wrong that it gets the seller a higher price.
Right.
So, with this, I think their agents are all over the place. Some saying this is right, some saying this is wrong. I think they got it all wrong. So, can I play another clip for you here? Yes. I got another one. All right. So this one talks about, this is another Sharon clip. Make sure I do this right this time, Sarah. So this is after Andy Florence responded. This came out yesterday, and the caption was, as a real estate agent, you have two options right now. Send this to an agent, and let's see what he says. Let's do this one more time here.
Florence, the CEO of CoStar, is arguably the most powerful man in North American real estate. Owner of CoStar, Homes.com, Apartments.com, and the most valuable business to date in the real estate space. Threw down the gauntlet after Zillow's new listing rule came out last week. So if you have not been following this, let me break it down for you very quickly. The spotlight has been on clear cooperation. And several brokerages led by Compass actually created this idea that they wanted to repeal the big idea of clear cooperation so that they could have a private exclusive network and under the narrative that clients will have their choice of how they want to market their property. Number one. NAR came out recently and said they were going to allow for a pre-marketing type idea and delayed syndication to this process overall, and that boards and MLSs are going to think about it and adapt it over the next few months. Third, Zillow came out last week and said if anyone were to utilize this pre-marketing idea and not put their listing on the MLS, as and when it did come on the MLS, it would never get shown on Zillow, which is an insanely bold move by Zillow. And number four, this weekend, Andy Florence says, hey, Zillow, you're throwing your weight around. You shouldn't do that, especially when NAR has created this delayed IDX syndication that for the industry's policy overall. Now, all I want to caution you with is that we are in the battle of the business models. If some brokerages want to do this because they want to create a private listing infrastructure to actually attract agents, eke out revenue, and that is a part of their business model. The portals, whoever they are, what do they benefit from? They benefit from getting more eyeballs on their listings, more eyeballs on their site, so that they can sell leads to agents, whatever their business model is. So now you, as a operating real estate agent in today's market, you have a choice, and your choices are twofold. Number one, if you want to get involved in this fight, you can. You can get loud, you can get involved with NAR, and you can get involved in this fight all you want. Or number two, you can stay focused on helping your clients in this marketplace. Either is okay, but you have to make a choice, because otherwise this is insane noise and a distraction for you. So my question for you is, one, grab some popcorn and watch the battle of the business models, and two, make a choice on whether you're going to get involved or whether you're going to stay focused on your business, so that as and when new rules come out, you've always adapted, and you will adapt on this one too.
So what do you think about Sharon's advice there?
Yeah, it's solid. For Compass,
You have a lot of questions.
I've got a
about
lot
this.
of questions. So if they're, because Compass has a ton of like, little compasses, right? Like,
So
little-
they're all a lot like their brokerages. So Remax is franchised, right?
Yeah.
So there's many Remax offices.
Yeah.
We happen to have 4, which is more than most, but all those are considered different brokerages,
Mhm.
right? Compass is under one umbrella. So when you see all that stuff out, like we're the number one brokerage and like 5 people say they're
Yeah.
number one,
yeah.
their corporate structure is different.
So would
Which
it
I think was
go
what you were
to-
going.
Yeah, like, but so I guess if they're sending out these private exclusives or like blah blah blah, or they're sharing information there, it would go to like, it wouldn't matter which office you were out of in Compass. If you were like in the local area, you'd have like a list of them.
See, this is what I don't know, because I'm Mr. Boring. I don't hop brokerages. I mean, I've only been at one
Right.
place. I have no idea how it works. I'd imagine there's some internal communication, and I believe it's on their internal website.
So I'm thinking what to do in the meantime is, this is going to play out how it's going to play out, right?
Yes.
But maybe make friends with somebody who is a Compass agent and get them to pass the list over.
I don't know that it's that many homes, though. I
Right,
mean, I
yeah.
really think this is it's not as many as you think.
But if they're a big selling point, but then also if you get that list, and then when you go to listing appointments, and if they were being wooed by the coolness of the private exclusive, to be like, there's 3 homes on that list, like, and
I think there's more than 3.
yeah, no, I'm sure, but I don't know. I feel like you could get the info otherwise and then like utilize it, and while all of this hashes out, unless if you're going to be somebody that gets involved on the, being heard and, I don't know, going to meetings or writing emails and things. But like, in the meantime, you could, you just want to focus on what you have to do, but maybe try and like get the list on the side.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's how's it going to help your clients and your business? Like those are the 2 questions you want to ask. This is spot on advice by Sharon. I mean, when all this NAR settlement stuff was coming out, there was people that you and I both know. They're like, oh, we're getting let down. We need to do something. I'm like, if you want to go start your own association, be my guest. You know what I'm focusing on? Listing and selling houses. And like, we have our KPIs, we have our numbers, and there's a way you want to know about this so you can compete in the listing environment. I mean, we were on a listing appointment today. Imagine if that came up. You know what I would have done. It would have been, hey, this is going to keep you off Zillow. Zillow gets all the traffic. That could really damage you. How are you going to feel about that?
Right.
That's the message you want to send out to sellers, because most sellers want to get the best price.
Right.
Not all of them want this privacy. So, I see both sides of this. I understand why they're doing what's best for their business. And what Sharon's saying, you need to do what's best for your business if you're a real estate agent. So what do you, I mean, any parting advice here? We got a couple minutes there. I mean, what's your, how do you think this plays out? Who's going to win this? Because there's going to be a winner. There's going to be a loser. Like that's what's going to happen.
Well, so what, May 1st is the day?
Yeah. I mean, I think this battle is going to go on. I wouldn't,
Right.
I've got some theories, but go ahead.
Well, so I think it's going to be interesting to see if, I guess, how Zillow, I'm guessing, would hold to what they said, at
Mhm.
least like initially. And they're going to do whatever best works for their business model. So let's say they draw a line in the sand here and say, nope, you didn't do what we said, so now you are blacklisted. If that negatively impacts things and it actually is better for them to like, well, they're not happy about it, but still get it like
Mhm.
later in the game, I think that they would, to save face, make some type of little change there, or like have something to be like, no, we're still doing this, but they would like allow it, right? If Compass feels the heat more and the negative impact initially, then they may revise. Like I think it's going to be like who's worse affected sooner.
Yeah, and I mean, this is the thing you got to worry about when it comes to consumers is, let's say it's one person in group number one who's pro private listings and all that stuff, and then one person that's against. They're going to get very different points of view, and the facts aren't always there. So if I'm an agent and I'm looking at this, and my focus is what's best for the consumer. That when you have that focus, you always win. I'd have like reports out. Bright MLS did a really nice report about this. We talked about it last week on the show, where it said, hey, most of these come to the market. All it does is add time to the listing period anyway. And most people talk about timing. That's a big focus for a lot of people. So I'd have these reports like printed with me and ready to go, or at least download it on your phone, and you can share it with someone like on the spot, because that can be very effective. You need to educate people with data here, because you start defending this is the right way or this is the right, you lose every time. Yeah. That would be number one. And then secondly, I would, focus on the client. If you're focused on what's important to them, I don't think they're going to get all wrapped up in this stuff either.
Right.
And remember, over 81% of sellers hire the first agent they meet with. So all you got to do is like really get in there. Would be just as important as anything else.
Agreed.
That's all we got this week, Sarah.
Oh, perfect timing.
Great timing. You must have been doing this for a few years now. If you got some value out of this, make sure to follow Sarah on Instagram. It's at @Ty_Ty Time. You can follow me at TomToole3RD. There's a link in the comments. If you got real estate questions, do yourself a favor. Talk to our local in-studio expert, Sarah Timon. You can schedule a call with her there. And we'll be back next week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
To pick up the lockbox from Mannyong.
Oh, I would have gotten it. I could have sent Bridget over there.